is what is wrong with the government. It's a government of people who came to power on the back of the populace, through subterfuge and deception. And now that their deception is catching up with them, they are becoming very restless, they have become intolerant, they have become very dangerous. But here is what I'll say to you. I don't want to be debating with him what is wrong. They already know what is wrong. He has mentioned some of them. But the problem is that they are yet to come to terms with how much destruction they have done to the economy of this country and the people of this country. And that is coming to them. They are going to meet headlong with the people. It doesn't matter how they slice or dice it. And he knows that. He knows the consequences of what they have done. That is why I've never had a debate with Mocha before in my life. Any debate we've had would be hard to fight. This is the first time I'm meeting him face to face. I've never seen him this restless.
Okay, Mr. Sowore, before I go,
that tells you that they're in trouble.
Joining me to speak further on this, I have the APC National Publicity Secretary, Mr. Felix Mocha. Good evening, sir.
Thank you. Good evening to you.
Good evening. It's great to have you on the program. Should I still say Happy Independence Day, even if it's, one day after?
Happy Independence Day.
All right. Thank you so much. I also have a human rights activist and the 2023 presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, Mr. Omoyele Sowore. Good evening, sir.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
It's great to have you on the program. All right, let me begin with Mr. Sowore. So again, we can understand really what the protest was about. Was it a continuation of the End Bad Governance protest? So yes, a few months ago, we saw people take to the streets really because of this economic hardship in the country. Yesterday, we saw another protest titled #Fearless in October, and this coincided with the independence. I don't know, was that done intentionally, to have that protest on independence? But you led that protest. We saw that in Lagos. What were the demands, and did it record the success that you were expecting? Mr. Sowore.
Yes, the protest is a continuation of End Bad Governance protests that started in August. But beyond that, we have been on the trajectory of a culture of resistance against bad governance starting from 2019, actually, through revolution now. So for us, we have been telling Nigerians that there's no possible solution that the ruling party or the party before it, which was the People's Democratic Party, can offer to make Nigeria a better place for citizens. And it has now been proven to everybody that, yes, they have nothing to offer and you're not going to get anything. Things are not going to get better. As a matter of fact, after the August protest, things got worse. The value of the Naira went down south. The cost of living went through the roof. They increased demonstrably the suffering of the people by increasing gasoline prices, petrol prices once again, and also electricity tariffs were jacked up, by allocating people to what they call Band A. So life has become more difficult, in addition to the clampdown of free speech, they arrested, detained, and also put people on trumped up charges for treason. It's that would be the most ridiculous time to be a Nigerian here. So this protest was meant to continue to resist the APC government, the Bola Tinubu regime, by several groups in the country. And it was successful as far as we are concerned. It was nationwide. Of course, they resorted to what they know how to do best by attacking protesters. They arrested some people in Jos and also arrested some of our colleagues and organizers from Kano. Drove them to Abuja overnight on September 30th, but now they've released them. So, yes, we're very happy that Nigerians are becoming very aware that there's need for concerted effort to stop them now before they ruin the entire country.
Okay. The protesters that you said were arrested, have they been released? You talked about in
But they
Kano.
released all the protesters in Jos. They released Jos. They released the ones in Kano as well. In fact, the ones in Kano are the worst type of arrest. They invited them to a meeting to meet with the commissioner of police. And after they finished the meeting, the man just detained them and drove them to Abuja overnight.
Okay. So this protest was just for one day. That was yesterday.
It was for one day, but don't forget that we said there was a series of it. There was protests today in Osun State, Osogbo as well. So, but it was symbolically for the Independence Day, which spilled over still in Osun State. There was protests today. And I heard there was some protests also in Port Harcourt today.
Okay. Before I come to Mr. Moka now, you said it was a success, but report says that that protest recorded a low turnout, compared to what the End Bad Governance protest was. Do you agree with that? And if you agree, why do you think that is?
You see, we made it clear yesterday that a protest is not a census event. So anybody who goes to a protest to count people is not dealing with the issues relating to why people protest. It is demand. A protest can be carried out by a person, and it can have 200 million people. People can protest in different ways. So those who are discussing numbers or low turnout are just making it, they're telling the story of the government, and what the government wants to say is that, the people are happy with us. They didn't come out to protest. And when they come out to protest, we shoot at them. So, but yesterday was also public holiday. And part of the reason why I said it's success is because the most significant event in this country yesterday wasn't their Independence Day parade, which used to be the most significant. It was actually the protests. In fact, the protests probably forced them to have a low-key event because there's nothing to celebrate about independence in Nigeria. Nigerians are seeking for new independence from the internal colonizers within the political elite and this, black on black colonizers, the people who are colonized, people of our same skin color who are colonizing us.
All right, Mr. Sowore, let me come to Mr. Moka now. I mentioned, like, a few months ago, we saw this protest. People took to the streets. It was for 10 days. And they came back again yesterday saying that the federal government has not actually acceded to their demands. Nothing has been done yet. They're still complaining. They're talking about the electricity tariff. We heard Mr. Sowore talk about that. Talking about the economic hardship. They're talking about hunger in the land. And so what is being done, or what has the government done to address these demands by the protesters?
Thank you very much. Before I get into that question, the last part of your question about what the government is doing, I think it's appropriate to create a bit of a context for this conversation. Because my dear brother, Mr. Sowore, has just, given you his own snapshots of what he thinks the problems of Nigeria, really are, that have caused him and others to lead the protests that he talked about. But, we know that what our country is going through today was not constructed today or yesterday. What we're dealing with, everything Mr. Sowore said, have been long in coming. The poverty he refers to, the hunger he refers to, the insecurity he referred to, have been building and have simply just, culminated to this moment. Look, fact is that we as a people, including Mr. Sowore and myself and everyone else who is Nigerian, we all have been witnesses, some of us participants, in constructing what we're dealing with today. So this is not about the present administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and it cannot be. Anyone who says it is either doesn't understand Nigeria or is just being mischievous, quite frankly. So, the point I'm making is, this was a country that was massively governed by military dictatorships successfully and in succession. And we are now in this moment of our electoral democracy. Now let's take the economic hardship. What are we talking about here? I'm sure that in the next segment, Mr. Sowore will talk about some of the policies of this administration that they say has caused or has worsened the economic indicators. Fuel subsidy. He mentioned the electricity subsidy, the removal of those things. Now, that in addition to floating our currency, were policies not by accident intended by this administration to tackle the problems that were created generationally at their roots, to tackle them deeply and fundamentally, to do what no other president who has come before this president has had the courage to do. You see, we can sit here and quibble. What Mr. Sowore will not tell you, and I have listened to him speak on, in different fora. What he never says is what exactly is this government doing that himself, who contested and has contested, repeatedly for the office of president, what is it he would have done or he will be doing now dealing with this behemoth of fuel subsidy that have literally crippled the economy of this country, to deal with the senseless multiple exchange rates that has been a disincentive to investment in our country, that has actually, to do about the fact that Nigeria, since independence is 4 years, has relied nearly exclusively on crude oil as the source of, income and revenue in our country. How do you explain that 64 years of generations of leaders who have done nothing to disrupt this senseless reliance on one product, the price of which we do not control, and the production of which also is liable to disruptions by certain forces that also seek to procure an outcome. Now, this generational failure is what we're dealing with, and this president is taking the boldest steps we've seen so far to tackle them. Yes, it has produced some discomfort, but those are being managed. And I think that if this government, is able to, continue, and I know the president is committed to continuing to implement these policies, we will see a drastic turnaround on all of these indicators.
All right, Mr. Moka, Mr. Sowore is here, so he will be able to explain, better, maybe if he won that seat, what he would have been able to do. But again, Nigerians, you're saying, okay, the president has, tried to do some things. Nigerians are not seeing it. And again, that's why we saw them, come to the streets. If we're talking about the interest rate now, the CBN interest rate is 27.25% as of September, which MSMEs have said it's killing their business. They cannot even thrive with this, even though the president has said that, MSMEs is something that is very important to his government. And again, they contribute to the GDP. They're one of the highest contributors. But again, for them, this interest rate is really high. We're talking about inflation rate at 32.15%. We're talking about the price of fuel, which was about, let's say, 200, at the time when the president came into power. As of today, is as high as 1,000 naira, electricity tariff, and the rest of them. And so do you think that, looking at those things that the president has said that, he did or he is doing, do you think it is reflecting on the current realities of what Nigerians are actually facing? People who cannot eat 3 square meals. And let me put it this way. And so Nigerians think that, yes, the president is telling us, be patient. But they don't think that the government is being patient or is spending according to the way they're saying, okay, the economy, it's a bad economy. They're talking about the vice presidential house, which was about 21 billion. We're talking about a presidential jet that were not even sure was approved, before buying. And so we see a lot of expenses being paid.
Are you asking a question?
No, I'm just trying to put it side by side, yes, with what people are saying.
We can deal with this,
Yes, so I would like you to respond to that. Talking about the economic indices now.
First of all, this president was inaugurated barely 16 months ago. In families, in people's private lives, sometimes it takes 1 month, 3 months, 1 year, maybe even longer, for families that have set a target for what it is they want to do, to whether to adjust to some realities or whatever. It takes time. We speak about these policies as though there's anywhere in the world or there's any device by which official policies, especially national economic policies, are snapped into existence. First of all, when a government is created, a government has to be constituted with its cabinet, and then a government then begins to announce and implement policies. This government is no exception. So when a year after the inauguration of the government, you ask questions as though we are discussing the exit of a government and that it has run its full course and its full term, and then you expect and frame questions like, how come policies like the removal of fuel subsidy has not already resulted in uhuru for Nigeria? That is not a question that's a question that actually seeks to simply promote hysteria. It's not a question that is objective or that is based on reason or rationality. It's a question that is simply meant to play to the gallery and promote hysteria. Because otherwise, if you want to have a rational conversation, question is, what has government done so far? You can look at those policies and look at the effect the policies are having and be able to see the possibility and the prospect of those policies to create the desired outcomes. The president laid out a number of these effects already, positive effects that these policies are having in his speech. So we can focus on that, or we can simply continue to promote hysteria and hope that somehow by reeling out all this information, make it look like it's doomsday. There was never a time that people were not struggling in this country and in many countries of the world, including some of the richest countries. My parents in the 70s struggled. I saw them struggle to provide for the family. So there was never a time that it was a uhuru in our country. So let's be relative and qualify this conversation so that we don't continue to incite people, as some of the organizers of the protests are seeking to do.
All right, Mr. Moka, we'll take that into consideration, but that's not trying to actually incite. When I started, I was asking, what is the government doing? Because I also wanted to hear from you. People have said that speech was not really detailed, and so we don't know those things really that the government is doing. We're talking about Nel Fund, but we're not seeing the details as to how many persons have actually gotten these loans. We're talking about the government. The president also mentioned $30 billion, foreign direct investment, talking about the CBN ways and means, being cleared. But if we look at that, we know how we said that will be securitized and it will be paid over a period of time. And so there's really no details. And that's why I was asking you what these demands are. And if we see Occupy Nigeria, the president was one of the protesters. It was about the fuel subsidy removal. And this was just how many years to former President Goodluck Jonathan's time. And so would we say that the people protesting, would we say it is wrong for them to protest the fact that they are seeing this economic hardship? Okay.
No, my dear. No one says it's wrong. Nobody is suggesting that. Look, anyone who knows me, I'm a veteran human rights lawyer. That's all I've done all my life. I was in the vanguard of the movement to get the military out of government. So, I'm not one of those naive people who don't understand what it means to, protest. I was a protester myself, where I thought it was justifiable to protest. So protesting is a democratic freedom. Nobody, is trying to circumscribe that.
Okay.
Mr. Sowore in Nigeria is free to protest. That's solid democratic right. But when you do that, you also do that within the ambit of the law. And you must also always find justification. Look, the point here is that, this is our country. Every one of us, we all bear some duty to Nigeria. We all want to see Nigeria succeed. So I think that the political opposition, those who run elections, you run an election, you don't win, and then you think that by turning people out into the streets, you can achieve, through the streets, what you didn't achieve through the ballot box. That's irresponsible.
Okay, let me come to Mr. Sowore. I know that you would want to respond to some of the things Mr. Moka has said, and again, if you were in that position, I mean, being the president, what are some of the things that you think that you would have done better, looking at what the present administration is doing?
Well, let me just, I'm sitting here just shaking my head. So, no, I'm in my head, and because I know Felix Moka very well, and this is part of the dilemma I deal with all the time when we find our colleagues, former, collaborators in the struggle for justice and economic development become turncoats, and then they turn around and insult people, saying that people who are opposed to government because they lost election have no right to protest. And as a result, if the protest was done, it must be within the ambit of the law. What is ambit of the law? To protest. Why should protesters be charged with treason when you yourself, a lawyer, a protester, Tinubu himself, a lawyer, a protester, I don't know about I don't know about the vice president, because I think that one was just a banker in Lagos. But it's important to state clearly that the party APC has been in power now since 2015. So they have had an unbroken rule in Nigeria since 2015. And when they were coming to power, one of the things they said clearly was that they were going to end poverty, they were going to end corruption, they were going to end misgovernance. And they have done exactly opposite to what they promised to do. They have become some of the most corrupt elements in this country today. They have been some of the most incompetent people. When Buhari was leaving, Tinubu said, I'm going to continue with these policies. In 2012, they protested. But why did they protest? They protested because they said the burden that has been placed on Nigerians by the removal of fuel subsidy was too much and it should be reversed. And it was reversed. Nobody went to their house to arrest any one of them or put them in jail. And because I was also part of that protest, I was part of Occupy Nigeria, but I protested in the US. So now that they've been in power, they've turned the nozzle of that same gun on the people. Now, you're asking me what will I do? I was the only candidate in last election that said floating of Naira will kill the Nigerian economy. Because why? It was a policy imposed on Nigeria through structural adjustment program since the 80s. And Felix Moka knows this. I also said I will never remove fuel subsidy because I know that subsidy is about the only thing left for the poor and the struggling in Nigeria. But that I would remove the corruption that goes with it. They have admitted that the problem with subsidy is that there is a corrupt cabal in the country that is stealing subsidy money meant for the poor. And they are their friends, they are their funders, they are their mentors to this. They are all in the same circle. So to now turn around and blame the people who are now suffering, who are dying under the yoke of this economic policy, and telling them how to react, how to resist, is why I'm shaking my head here. And then to now also criminalize protest. These are the elements in this country that came to power in what we call protest to power. They were the first to use protest to gain power. They are now complaining that somebody lost election and is protesting. When Buhari lost election, didn't he protest? Buhari lost election 3 times. He protested each time. The other protested to court, he protested physically. In fact, there was a protest in which Buhari was protesting and the police tear gassed Buhari and his deputy then, Chuba Okadibo, and the man died the second day. They blamed the government, the PDP government of Obasanjo, of killing him through tear gassing. So They're doing the same thing. That's the problem we have in this country. And then today you sort out of, well, we need more time. We need more time. And when you are reading beautifully and brilliantly what they have done wrong, he's going off on you, even throwing some subtle jab and threat at you that, you should not do your job as a radio. And you have been very, very nice, and you are just telling him what is wrong with the policy and that the people are suffering. You haven't done anything wrong. This is what is wrong with the government. This is a government of people who came to power on the back of the populace, through subterfuge and deception. And now that their deception is catching up with them, they are becoming very restless, they are becoming intolerant, they have become very dangerous. But here is what I'll say to you. I don't want to be debating with him what is wrong. They already know what is wrong. He has mentioned some of them. But the problem is that they are yet to come to terms with how much destruction they have done to the economy of this country and the people of this country. And that is coming to them. They are going to meet headlong with the people. It doesn't matter how they slice or dice it. And he knows that. He knows the consequences of what they have done. That is why I've never had a debate with Mocha before in my life. Any debate we've had would be hard to fight. This is the first time I'm meeting him face to face. I've never seen him this restless.
Okay, Mr. Sowore, before I go,
that tells you that they're in trouble.
Mr. Sowore, what happens if this economic hardship, the reason that people went out there to protest continues?
There will be problem. And that's what I just told you. They know it. They know what is coming. You cannot be toying with the life of 200 million people. Nobody, and Mocha knows this, he's a student of history. There's no government that has survived this level of hunger, starvation, poverty, insecurity that is driven largely by corruption. No matter how they sound, no matter how haughty or arrogant or threatening they sound, they know what is coming to them.
Okay.
They know it. He knows it. He will tell you in private if you were to meet him. Because prior to now, and I'm not saying this to praise him, he's a decent guy. He was a decent guy. I've not met him in recent years, But we worked together. We fought the military. He was right. These are some of the most brilliant guys we fought against the military with. But, the moment people just find themselves in power, I don't know what they drink, in power. That will make them just lose their conscience.
Let me.
And I'm not insulting him. I just felt so sad to hear him say,
"Okay,
some people are irresponsible." What do you mean irresponsible? You have an irresponsible government that has failed, and you are calling their victims irresponsible. That's irresponsible. That's what is irresponsible.
Okay, before I come back to Mr. Mocha now, because we'll have to wrap up now. Mr. Sowore, how do you respond to persons who say that, again, you're just doing this for your own traction? There were the reports, from some of the reporters we had out there on the streets yesterday. I think there was one led by Mr. Hassan Soweto and another one by you. And they said, the movement to Ojota Park, you went in separate clusters. Why is that? Was it not supposed to be something united, since you're asking for the same demands basically? Why did that happen? And we saw the yellow caps as well, and the revolution now thing.
There was nobody in Nigeria that's under any obligation to move at the same pace when there's a protest. I am a long distance runner. Some people can't catch up with me running, so you can't catch up with me walking. Even the policemen that had to be in front of us, some of them nearly collapsed yesterday. So that one is a question of resilience. We have every right. In fact, any Nigerian can protest wherever you want. In a village, you can wear a yellow cap, a red cap, you can carry whatever, a signal, hashtag. There was this protest yesterday had different hashtags, different groups. We all decided to meet under the bridge, and some of us left earlier, some were coming at the back. When we got to our destination, which was Ojota, some other people took over, So that is irrelevant as far as I'm concerned.
No, because some people are always concerned about that word revolution, what it means. I don't know what it means to you, but it sounds like violence.
That's the problem of people who are concerned about that. That's our own consistent message. We know and believe and understand what this country needs. As of 5 years ago, we need a revolution. There's no question about it. Even they themselves in the APC, that was what they said. But our own revolution is not their kind of revolution. Their own revolution is that of deception to capture power. And now that they've captured power, they are doing reverse revolution to suppress the same people that they claim they came to save. All of us have become their victims. We have become the victims of even some of them who were pro-democracy activists are now the one, insulting us.
Okay,
these are things that when we were together, they would never have accepted. This is same economic policies. Fairly Smoker and us, we fought against structural adjustment.
Let me come to Mr. Moka now as well to wrap up.
Defending structural adjustment.
Mr. Moka,
respond at least?
Yes, Mr. Moka, go ahead.
Because, I think that we can at least agree, and I did concede that when you protest, and protest within the ambits of our constitutional facility, then it's fine. I also have a right to, I think, respond to some of what my dear brother has said. Before I come to some of the remarks he made about my role, I think that, let me just say that, he just told us he campaigned, promising Nigerians he will not remove fuel subsidy. He will simply treat, the corruption elements around that system. He also said, that he will not float the forex, system in our country. You see, this is 2024, and economics is economics. There's no just, treating economics like it's, something that belongs to you, that you manufacture your own understanding of economics and then apply it to solve serious national problems. What I think, if we have time, I would want to hear from Mr. Sowore, is to explain exactly how he would pay or continue to pay subsidy based on Nigeria's earnings, revenue, with falling production and falling prices. How do you pay subsidies and still govern and still have money and revenue to treat the need for infrastructure and to develop this country? Where does the money come from? Because the last time I checked, we were spending nearly 90% of all of our revenues paying subsidy and also servicing our debt. So between those two demands and pressure, I don't know where he planned to finance it, because it's not enough to just say, I will keep it. How do you pay for it? That is where I think Mr. Sowore should really address Nigerians about. He also talked about forex. Look, just setting the value of your currency, declaring that Naira will exchange at 460 Naira arbitrarily, is not, smart economics. That's actually very retarded way to deal with things. Setting your currency, who does that inspire? That will simply move people away from the economy rather than move them in. I have to respond to some of the comments he made. You may kindly just afford me a few minutes. Now, it is true that we waged a vehement struggle against the military dictatorship. And, we prevailed. This country prevailed, and we have now at least, nearly a couple of decades to, about, since then. But Mr. Sowore, fact of the matter is that there's so many things you and I did and were part of. Some of the aspirations we had to redirect this country. We won the first stage. We military, at least so far, they've kept away. We are now in the most difficult phase of our engagement. We have to do this, with some level-headedness, some level of rationality. We can't do this simply by throwing stones and by, calling names and, declaring positions and hope that serious problems that are not only besetting Nigeria, but also are present elsewhere, will be just, whisked away because you say we must have a revolution now. We all must think together, support those who are in office today, because if you want that election, I doubt that you would wish or want a system where all of us will be in the streets,
Mr. Moka,
throwing stones at you when you should be, in fact, trying to govern this country.
Mr.
So
Moka,
I think we need to take a cheap pill. at some point.
We have to wrap up now quickly. What is the government going to do? I mean, these demands have been out there. We understand, yes, you've talked about, the military dictatorship. You've talked about you and Mr. Sowore. But people out there are really concerned about the fact that they cannot eat, right? They are hungry. They cannot afford the 3-square meal. They're talking about electricity. And so what's the government doing? I mean, if we come to the Port Harcourt refinery, that's another one. It's not working. That sector is not really working. We have not seen anything come on board. And so what's the government doing really to